Good morning. These are a few words I got this morning as I was praying. I usually spend at least 2 hours or more every morning because I need it. Uh, and here's some of the notes I wrote down. The world has been created out of faith, God's faith. And He granted us a measure of faith to run our world. Our own personal world is run in the same way God runs His. We can run in unison with Him. We can run against Him. It's our choice. But of course, we don't have the same portion of faith that God has, but we all have a portion of faith. And we can grow that faith as we go along if we wish. Now, faith is the belief in what we hope for. And depending on our faith, our hopes are fulfilled. All our hopes in this life only have the strength of our faith and no more. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe, you say, I hope I lose weight, I hope I win the lottery, that's pretty well a no, okay? Our world is held together, our lives, our expectations are held together by the amount of faith we have in our hopes and dreams. And hopes and dreams have no power in themselves except by the faith that we have in them. I want to see. All right. The Bible would say, you have little faith when our hope fails. It was never the dream, because worldly hope in itself has no strength. Okay. And we must have faith behind it. And I shouldn't say that. You could have negative faith or lack of faith, whatever you want to call it, in failure. So yes, I guess you could have faith in your undoing. But your faith, that's what runs your life. If you have fear of some calamity, you have exercised your faith. You believe it's coming, and it probably will. You draw those negative situations to you. Hope in itself without faith is powerless. It's just an empty word. As we know in this world, most people are not empowered by the word hope. It's the faith behind the hope that is the power, and therefore the answer. So to be successful in this life, you can only accomplish whatever success you're after. More money, closer walk with God, can only be accomplished by your faith. So first, you have a hope, okay, for a future. Make it a good one, okay? Because your mind, consciously or unconsciously, will work on your behalf to fulfill what you really have the faith in, okay? And what you're putting your hope in. We get what we expect is what I'm saying. What we have the full faith for. Is it good or bad? Because you will get the results, good or bad. I believe that faith is a neutral power in itself. It doesn't self-determine its use. You do. Through choice. God has given us a choice. What do you choose? What do you put your faith in? What do you put it behind? What are your hopes and what's your faith in that? Get clear on a good hope, okay? So that your faith can take you to a good place. If you believe in your heart that you will likely fail at a task, then you've used your faith against yourself. your faith will help you bring it to pass. Now, again, some people will say that was a lack of faith, but I think it's just faith in all its power. There are people that believe crazy things, but they have faith in it. They have crazy religions, crazy ideas, stupid things, but they have faith behind it. So it works. And keep in mind, it doesn't matter what you say verbally all day long. You can repeat some phrase over and over and over again in your mind. I am better, I am better, I am better. But without faith, you're wasting your breath. If your faith is in opposition to it, it's not going to work. First problem, you're divided against yourself. So you're saying one thing, but in your faith, you believe you won't be able to accomplish it. So you've already failed. You have taken the gift of faith and used it as a weapon against yourself, a tool against yourself. Faith is like money. Money is never the problem, but the love of money causes you to do things that you shouldn't have done and neglect everything else. For example, some people are so full force on making money that they leave their family behind and their health behind and everything else. So that is, you could use your faith for just money only, but it might not be a good idea and it might not have a good outcome. So faith is never the problem itself, but it is a problem if it's misapplied. Then it becomes one. If you place your hopes on negative things like, oh, I'll never learn this problem, I'll never overcome this, they'll never love me, whatever it is, then you are using your faith against yourself, unless that's what you want to do. You can't blame faith. I know some would say it's a lack of faith that causes the bad results. So you failed because of no faith. And that's one way of explaining it. And that is describing the same phenomenon when I say using faith in a negative way. So you're using a power, but you're not using it to help you. Don't worry about semantics, okay? Just get the principles of what you're trying to learn in this life. People get all caught up in the finer details and they miss, they're tripping over dollars to get to the pennies in their life and then they're broke and they wonder why. So don't worry about how you describe failure, but just understand that if misused or lacking, there is a problem. We can describe, for example, moving towards a goal for something you want, or you can have you're moving away from something else that moves you to the goal. You say, well, I'm moving towards a better life, or I'm moving away from a bad life to a better life. The same results will appear. Now, everyone's different. Some people are very motivated by I don't want to be poor, and it makes them rich. And others are very motivated by I want to be rich, and that's what drives them. I know NLP philosophy says you can't use the reverse of an idea, but that's wrong. Some of us use the reverse of an idea very well. Like for the man who's so afraid of poverty, as I said, he works day and night to make sure he's not broke and he's rich. Well, another man works day and night towards wealth and he's looking for wealth. Two different approaches, and one works better for one person and the other might work better for another. But when you arrive at wealth really doesn't care how you got there, okay? If you use the pushing or the pulling method, both their money spends the same. And yes, moving towards wealth seems to be a better way to go than moving away from poverty, but that's not for all. But how about we use both? Because God uses both all the time. As in, if you serve me, you will receive all these benefits. In Deuteronomy, it has a list of all the benefits of serving God. But you know what the second list is? It's longer. All the things that are going to happen to you if you don't serve me. So they're both, the pushing, the pulling, they both work, and try to find what works for you. When we have godly faith, believing in God and believing He has a plan for us and He's for us, that's what we get. But if we believe that God is against us, wants us to fail, and have no belief in His goodness, then that will produce a harvest you might not want. If you tune in to your deep heart-filled things, because the heart is where the truth is. God looks at the heart, and you should be looking at your heart too, okay? When you think something in your mind, again, as I said earlier, and say, okay, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to be successful, but in your heart you say, I don't think so. You have gone to a gunfight. Your mind has gone to a gunfight with a knife, and it is going to lose against your heart who said no. So you better get your heart right if you want to be successful in this life. You have to have that harmony, that your words and your actions match your heart. Otherwise, you're just going to go around in circles. And that way, when you deal from life from your heart, then you're not fooled easily by false beliefs that others have. Others are trying to feed you. Some people insist on following everyone but God. And then they get ungodly results. And they wonder what happened. But you can change your direction. Sometimes people, stupid is as stupid are, or whatever the word, the saying is, they refuse to change. And so they keep getting keep getting the same results that they did before from doing the same foolish things. Without what you hope for, with your faith behind it, it is not going to happen. Choose you this day who you will follow. Again, I'm reading notes from this morning, so I just want to put them across the best I can. How is what you've been doing working? I guess that's one question. If it's working, keep doing it. If it isn't, change something. And where are you going to change it? Not in your words, it's in your heart. Examine your heart. Examine your heart. Say, okay, well, what do I really want in this life? I mean, if you really want to hurt other people and that's what you really want in this life, then get in tune with it, I guess. That's not a good idea, but some people do that. If you don't like what you are and the way you live, then change it. God has given you the choice. He has not predestined anything. Even when he says something, he'll change his mind. Look, when he said to King Hezekiah, he sent Isaiah and said, okay, King Hezekiah, you're going to die tonight, and that's absolute. You're going to die tonight, and that's absolute, and that's that. And he walked out. Hezekiah faces the wall. God, he started repenting. Forgive me, Lord. Forget all the evil things I've done and remember all the good things I did. And before Isaiah could get halfway out of the building, God called him back and said, go back, tell Hezekiah I've given him another 15 years. So even what God says sometimes is not written in stone. If we change our heart and change our minds, it's a fluid thing. Other men and angels were not put on earth here to make your decisions for you. Your parents weren't, your friends weren't. You were the one that was to choose your future. You can give your decision away, yes, by standing behind what someone else wanted you to do. Or you make no decision at all. You think, okay, I'll sit on the fence. I'll make no decision, and now I can't make a mistake. No, that is a mistake. No decision is a mistake, and it is a decision, and it falls on the wrong side of things. You're like a lamb to slaughter when you do that, because someone will make the decisions for you. But I thought it was supposed to be like, we were supposed to be like lambs. No, we're supposed to be as gentle as lambs, but as wise as serpents. And sometimes we're going to have to stand up for what we believe. Look at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, those three little Jewish boys that wouldn't bow down to the idol of King Nebuchadnezzar. And so he heated up the fire 7 times and threw them in it. But what they said before they were thrown in, whether our God saves us or he doesn't, we will not bow down to your God. And that's the end of that. So sometimes, we're going to have to stand for what we believe, and we may face fire. But don't worry about it. God's got this. God's for you. He will either let you escape from any effects of that fire, or he'll take you to heaven. So they're both good answers. And the tests are not denials. When God said to Abraham, take your son up and I want you to kill him, put him on the altar as a sacrifice. And yet Abraham knew that all his progeny would come out of this son. He wasn't worried. He figured, well, God will raise him from the dead then. Sometimes we have some severe tests, and God is just testing us, just a test. So don't worry about it. Do the right thing. He maybe just wants to see how much you really want what you're going after. You say, I want to be a movie star. Well, we're going to test you, okay? And there's going to be some severe tests, and we're going to find out if you really want to be that or anything else. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. There's going to be some tests you're going to have to pass, okay? And the bigger the dream, probably the bigger the test. So don't worry about tests. It's just letting you know in your own heart, yeah, am I up to this? Do I really want this? Do I want to go through 7 years of university or 10 years of university to be this thing, whatever it might be? All kinds of obstacles will appear, as if someone's trying to make you change your mind. No, someone's trying to solidify your mind, okay? Solidify, do you want this? When Jesus said, you who have little faith, yes, he was referring to little faith, but maybe he was referring to little faith of expecting the good outcome, not denying. I don't know if Jesus was denying the fact that faith could be used against you. So don't use that quote on me to say that there's either little faith or no faith, because that could be wrong. And God is for us completely, I believe. I don't think there should be any doubt. But again, now we're back to faith. You're never going to reach knowing Jesus if you don't know God. Okay. Oh, this is going to get some of the religious people excited. Look, Paul, who wrote half of the Bible, believed there was a God, believed God was for him long before he met Jesus. Now he perverted it, maybe. I guess he did, the way he was applying it, and he used God against Christianity. And then he came to know Jesus Christ. Well, a lot of us are still in kindergarten still. People are trying to get us to speak in tongues or whatever, raise the dead, and we don't even know there's a God yet. First step, you have to examine your heart and say, well, is there a God? And I'm not sure. Well, Lord, I want to know if you exist. So you ask for God. Okay, God, if you really exist, help me, Lord. Help me to know you and come to realize that not only that you are God, because even the devils and demons believe that he is God. They just don't like him and they're not following him. But they believe there's a God. So just the belief in God is not going to do anything for you. Even the demons believe that. But secondly, do you believe God is good and that God is for you? Now, if you can't get past these kindergarten steps, how are you going to get to raising the dead, believing that Jesus Christ existed? You can't even believe God existed. If you can't believe the Father who created Jesus Christ exists, how are you going to believe that he had a son and that you're going to do all these miracles in his name? I mean, I guess Jesus can use a donkey and you could actually raise the dead and heal people because you're using the word of God, but that's not going to take you to heaven, because one day he's going to say, I never knew you. I let you use the power of my word and you, whatever, you believed it, so you got it. But salvation's a gift. It's not anything to do with what you did. It certainly has a lot to do with what you do after, because you have to solidify you have to walk in your salvation. He saves you. Yes, he saves you, but now you have to live that saving. You can throw it out and say, I said the sinner's prayer, but I think it's a bunch of hooey, or I'm really not interested. So now you're in the weed situation. I got so many weeds growing around me, I don't have time to look at God. So the weeds are taking over. Okay. So don't go down that path. Okay. So what's your first step in this life? Believing there's a God. My first experience with God was I was like 10 years old and I was on the farm making haystacks. I don't know if how many of you people know what that is, but it's all the hay in the field and you put it up together and you create this stack of hay. And we had this hay stacker. It's a machine that would lift the hay up and dump it in a pile. And the next, we would put the hay on this hand and it would dump it in a pile. And there was all these ropes that would lift the hay up there. And I climbed up to the top of this hay stacker machine to jump into the hay. It was so much fun. And then climb around, go around, and I'm waiting for the next load of hay to come, but I'm having a heck of a time playing. And I climb up this wall to jump into the hay, and I fall backwards. And as I fall, my whole life was in front of me, went before me. It's amazing. Little kid. And I remember when I chopped my foot with an axe. And I remembered all these things and incidences that happened to me in the past. And I thought, oh my God, my parents are going to find me dead and that'll be it. And all these thoughts, 1,000 thoughts went through my mind as I was falling backwards, but it was only for 10 feet. Okay. But boy, your mind can work fast. And as I was falling, the ropes happened to be tense because I did not unhook the tractor. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. But in this case, the ropes were taut. I hit the ropes. It bounced me up on my feet. I fell backwards and I'm laying on the ground and I'm looking up. I'm 10 years old and I'm thinking, there is. There is a God. And as I laid there, I was running the earth through my hands. I thought, wow, I like this earth, this life. It took me years later to get fully in, but that was the start. So two things came out of that at 10 years old. There is a God. And he is for me. Later, found out he had a son. A year or two later, I'm in a church behind my home. It was a born again type church. And my family, we went to the United whatever church. It was a lukewarm thing. I'm back there and in this church, and I only went there for one reason. They bribed me. Okay. They had a workshop in the basement of the church, and you could make anything you wanted out of wood. You could build a birdhouse, you could build an ashtray, you could build a whatever ashtray. Anyway, you could build whatever you wanted. Okay. And so I would go to that. Now there was a catch. They had a catch. These guys were tricky. You had to sing for half an hour, a bunch of songs, Christian songs, before you could have your fun with the wood. And they had teachers there and helpers there. And it was great. And so I would sing with this half hour and I'd have tears and I'd figure out what? No one else would be around me. They'd be, I think, why am I having tears? That was more of God. He was trying to reach me. It was years later before I really received him. And the first time I received him after being in the occult for 18 years, I went to this Baptist church, I believe it was, and I was working with a company that did pictures of the congregation, and we created a book, and then everyone got a free book, and so they had a picture and the names and everything of everyone in the church, and then we made our money by selling them pictures. We'd show them 20 pictures and pick one for the book, and hopefully you'll buy the 20 pictures. So that was what we did, and I was talking to the pastor, and I told him how I was doing TM, Transcendental Meditation, all these years with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and with the Beatles, and I was living in Europe and all this stuff. And he said, well, that's all against the Bible, what you've been doing. And I said, it is, because I read the Bible, but I missed it, okay, apparently. Absolutely. And he said, well, here, I'll show you. And he started showing me scripture. Look at this, look at this, look at this. And I came convinced that, you know what? I think he's right. I've been pursuing false gods, and I have to pursue you, Lord. But for those 18 years, I was really pursuing God. I thought I was, okay. I mean, at a 21-year-old, long-haired, crazy, every idol and thing I could put in my body, I was taking. And I got initiated into this whole meditation thing. And then within a month, I cut my hair, was wearing the suit, and was preaching their gospel. All right. So I got really caught up in it and did it for 18 years. I mean, I thought I was pursuing God. They said I could have God consciousness. I could have cosmic consciousness. So I was really going for this thing, okay? But then I became disillusioned along the way. And then here I'm at this church after I came out of Europe and out of that full-time thing with that. So I did it full-time for years. And he said, hey, I know you're after God, but you're not going to find him where you're going. So I said, well, and then he started showing me scripture. I said, I think you're right. That I have been pursuing God in the wrong way. I knew there was a God and I knew he was good. I got the first two things right, but I was going to, where. I was living the worldly life, but not his life. Okay. And so I said the sinner's prayer and I went out that night. I left the church and I came back that night and I laid in the field at the church and I said, okay, I think this is right, God. If you're God, then I want you to manifest yourself to me. And I laid there hours waiting. And he never appeared. So I just went back to my old life. But you know what happened? God says, we're going to meet on my terms. Not yours. So there we go. We're off and running again for another 10 years. Something. And then had the opportunity to go to this church. Someone invited me to Born Again Church. And I walked in the door. And keep in mind, I'm used to seeing angels. I'm in the occult. My mind has been opened up to all the demonic world. Of course, now the angels that I saw were demons, but I thought they were angels, and they came like light. I saw them as angels of light. They at times were like big sparklers in the room. You lit up the room, and man, you just overpowered by these beings and blue beings and whatever. And I thought, wow, I'm really hitting the jackpot here, but they weren't. They were demonic forces. But anyway, I went to this church, and as I walked in the door, it was like I floated up to the ceiling in that place. And I realized this is the place, this is God. And gave my heart to God. But then I had to go through severe deliverance. And not from TM and Maharishi and them. They were all in their own little world. They're not like some other organizations that go after you and they're going to torture you because you left. They said, with TM, they said, don't let the door hit you on the way out. They didn't pursue you. But the demons did. All right. So as I started praying heavily and seeking God, I had some visitations. One night as I was laying in bed, I had the Bible next to me. I don't know if it was Satan himself, but it was a pretty good copy of him. Sat on the end of my bed, smelly, all kinds of arms and the ugliest thing you've ever seen, the scariest face you've ever seen. And I'm thinking, be gone, Satan. And I can't even get words out of my mouth. And had the Bible next to me. I read the Bible to this demon for, I don't know, it seemed like eternity, 10, 15 minutes. Yes, I know you strong Christians. You say, be gone, Satan, and he's gone, and it's over. But, okay, I'm a new Christian, and it's not begoning, okay? So I just start reading the Bible, and then finally the thing leaves. And that was one of my many torments as I left this whole crazy spiritual world that was not God, okay? Then I had night terrors for years, and I would tell my wife there's snakes in the bed, and she'd jump out of bed, and I would grab a queen-sized mattress with one hand and throw it across the room. It was like crazy stuff. And I was so terrified about someone getting hurt. But I kept going. And over time, I had a few more visits from demons, devils, Satan himself probably. But then they gave up on me. Hallelujah. And the night terrors left. And I was able to live a quieter life. So there is a cost. It's the cost to be a doctor. Many years in study. The cost to be in anything if you're going to be great. And the seeming stumbling blocks are just there to check out if you're really serious. Are you really serious about God? Are you really serious about being anything? And the tests are there to find out what you're made out of. Okay. So it's been great and hard, but hey, God said, He never said it'd be easy, did He? If He did, let me know. And thank you.